right, while everyone is settling down, I would also like to introduce myself. As previously mentioned, I am Cheng Rai Lor. I am the Hmong Grower Coordinator, Hmong Grower Program Coordinator for FairShare CSA Coalition. I see a lot of familiar faces here today, which is very happy, very happy to see you. Also see a lot of new faces, and hopefully we get to introduce to each other later. But yeah, a little bit of context of today's this panel is really focused on. I'm just gonna walk down. I feel like I'm a little awkward on the stage. Yeah, just a little shining some light on, how to initiate a relationship, how to build that relationship and maintain that relationship. This is really for beginner and like emerging farmers that might not have a clue at all where to make these connections for to find a wholesale market. They may heard from word of mouth, but initially they do struggle a lot finding an actual person to talk to, especially with a lot of language barriers for our underserved and marginalized communities. But yeah, today you will hear from. We've invited Ying Lo from GreenGold Gardens, a farmer up in the Wausau area, and Kendra Forseth, am I saying that correct? Sorry, from Wisconsin Food Hub Co-op. Unfortunately, Tara is not able to join us here today, but yeah, Kendra is here to also shine some light on that organic building relationship with Ying Lo as they guide us through this process. I will give Ying Lo to introduce herself. Um,
Hi everyone, I'm Ying Lo from Wausau and from GreenGold Gardens. And so I'm excited to be here today. There's a lot of new faces that I haven't seen, like Chen Rai said there too. And honestly, a little bit about me. I'm from parents who always farm, but because I saw the hard work that they were doing, like I did not want to farm. So I went to school and got my degree and then worked for 30 years in corporate. And from there, I just got tired of it and retired from that. And then I started gardening. And at that point, my husband already started an acre of garlic and he really liked it. So he started that. And then because I never had a farm before, I never had a garden bigger than 1,000 square feet. And so I expanded to a half acre. And and it started selling at farmers market. And then from there, we just started growing from there. And today we have 7 greenhouses, 5 acres of garlic. We actually planted four varieties of garlic, and then 4 acres of vegetables.
Thank you, Ying Lo and Kendra.
Hi, I'm Kendra Forseth, and I work with the Wisconsin Food Hub. I actually am the lead on our tendon table program that we just launched through the Wisconsin Food Hub. And I'm here for Tara today because she unfortunately couldn't join us. But I have worked with the LFPA, the local food procurement assistant program at the start of the year before it was canceled. And I've been working closely with Ying Lo along with a lot of our other small growers over the past summer here. And we're looking forward to our future here with Tendon Table and working their products in. It's been pretty exciting here this fall when we were able to launch that. And I really appreciate our smaller growers like Ying. She works well with a lot of our Hmong farmers that are up in the Wausau area and does a really good job of working with us to help get that aggregating in that community and help get our transport down so that way we can make one stop and just communicating overall with the Hmong growers and being able to reach out when we need things. She's always been somebody that's been on board with us. So our partnership with Ying is really important as well as our other farmers. And I'm just excited to be here and sharing with that with all of you guys today.
Thank you, Kendra. So before we get started on some guiding questions for everyone here, I just want to make a Quick reminder, if you need to help yourself, feel free to help yourself anytime during this panel session. And also, we'll be open for, we'll give a dedicated time at the end of this panel for any open questions. But during this whole panel discussion, feel free to ask any questions regarding any of the questions that are being asked. But yeah, let's get started. This first question that I have to guide us today for this topic is, what spaces should I be in to encounter networking opportunities, and what questions should I consider when connecting with a grower or buyer? Oh yeah, they have no mics.
I can share. Like we get emails all the time from FairShare and, other places that they have workshops of farming. I think being in the farming industry is probably one of the most generous community. And we get workshops all the time, and that's how you network. Like, that's how I got started. I signed up to be on the email list, and I got emails about the workshops or conferences, and I started attending those conferences. And then I met people. I'm not shy about going up to other more experienced farmers and ask questions and connect with them and ask for help. And that's how I got started in meeting other more experienced individuals. And then also I have connected with them and then schedule farm tours. And I actually visit their farm to see what they're doing that's successful so I can learn and improve what I'm doing. And it's been very helpful for me.
I think as a cooperative too, that's something that we look for is people that are showing up to these conferences, reaching out, interacting with the other growers, that like basically figuring out what is it that you have to bring to the table that's maybe unique to you or a little bit different than your other grower neighbor is kind of what the food cooperative is looking for. But like Ying says, reaching out to other growers, seeing how they've got their foot in the door is definitely going to help you get knowledge so that way you can work your way towards like showing up to Marble Seed, for example, or some of these conventions and reaching out with these different growers, connecting with the Wisconsin Food Hub as well as Fifth Season, like these other cooperatives around. It's pretty important to just kind of have that intertwining of the farming community to be able to get your resources.
And then from here, from a grower or buyer, after that connection, what should they expect from that?
For me, when I reach out or I connect with someone at a conference, I typically follow up with an email just to thank them and then also build a relationship. And I would say, you know what, we're all so busy and we forget. Like, I forget who I meet sometimes because I'm so busy with all the work that I have to do. So I do my best to follow up within a week or so, or a few days, just so they still remember me and I still remember them, and just ask them what I need from them too. And of course, I think that we all need something from each other to support each other to grow. So like I said earlier, like some of the things that if I meet a small grower or another grower who's more experienced than me, then I would follow up with them and be like, I'm excited. It's a pleasure to meet you, and I'd like to come and visit you and connect that way and ask for support, and learn some of the things they're doing that's working so well at their farm that maybe I can use. So
After you get to a certain level of your farming, a lot of what the buyers are going to be looking for is that you have good agricultural practices in place, that you're meeting certain food safety standards like your certificates and whatnot, having an organic certificate if you're organically growing. And then usually for us, we have you sign some producer letter of agreement and some kind of a marketing agreement. And then we usually ask for your certificate of insurance, and we have you get set up in our systems as well. But again, it's all a matter of reaching back out. A lot of times with farmers, with the cooperatives, we're really busy and we've got a lot on our plate. So if you're not getting a response in a timely manner, or if it's something urgent, picking up the phone, giving those people a call, sometimes that like triggers a memory. Like Ying is saying, we don't necessarily always remember that person we met at Marble Seed or at a conference or convention. And then when they're on the phone, we recognize their voice and, oh yeah, we talked for 2 hours about we were going to try to sell your cucumbers. Let's get in connection. So it's one of those things. Definitely make yourself known. Don't let it, okay, she didn't respond to my email this week. We get so many emails sometimes. It's definitely good to always keep reaching out or picking up the phone and physically calling. And one really great partnership that we at the Food Hub had this year was we also had Ann Vang, who was one of our interpreters for the Hmong community, as well as using Ying. And then we also had Katiana as somebody that, or Katia, as someone that could be for our Spanish speaking community. So we do have translators as well. If you, that's like, we don't want that to be a boundary or a struggle for any of our growers. And that can be a really tough situation to try to navigate when you have language barriers. So just understanding that if you need that assistance, there's people in areas that can help you. And that's something that I really appreciate Ying for, because there's been certain times where I've needed her to help me and she's always willing, like, okay, Kendra, I got you. So it's great to have that partnership really when it comes down to it.
Thank you, Ying and Kendra. So I am wondering, like, before this like process, um, are there any best practices or values that you both like follow or look for in a producer and or buyer?
For us, I really look for respect because I value the things I grow because I put a lot of work into it. So I pretty much expect that they respect my product and respect me as an individual. And then also some commitment, buying commitment, because I care about fresh and local and health, and that really supported, like, I care a lot about that. So buyers who supported that, like, it really touched my heart about that. And what I find is that even with Food Hub, like, they really saw that through me. I think that through the relationship that they, with the open communication and just the support that they're giving me, like, that's been really wonderful for us.
And I think on our behalf, it would be the trustworthiness with our growers. Like, obviously, we have that, like, we'll set little standards throughout the year of like, okay, this is a goal that we want to do with you. But also, when they know their products, like that trust level that we have, that they're committed to what they're doing, we can trust what they're saying about their products going to be accurate. So we don't have to worry when it's harvest time and we go to pick up Ying's garlic, we don't have to worry that it's going to be in poor quality and she's just putting some good ones on top. So that way we think, we want to have that trust in her that her product genuinely is good. And showing that respect back to her when she gets a compliment or we get a vendor that buys something, and being able to translate that back to her and say, hey, your product was really superior this week. Thank you for that. We don't just take stuff and then pass it along. We take it and we invest in it, and it's now like we're the grower. We don't want that grower connection to be lost.
Thank you both. So for this next question here, it's really for for emerging and beginner farmers that really don't know how many buyers they should approach, or for the buyer side, how do you determine how many growers you should reach out to? But yeah, let's start with the producer side first. How do you determine as a grower how many buyers should you approach within like a networking space?
Um, how to determine how many buyers to approach? I think, like for me, like I can share my experiences that when I changed my mindset about what I'm doing, that changed a lot in my business. When I was farming as a hobby, it's quite different. So when I changed the way I think about it, and I think about that my farm is actually my business, that changed everything. So from there, like I would think that, okay, what's my goal for this year? And I'm a pretty straightforward. So I'm like, when you think about your goals, you're really talking about, okay, how much money are you making this year? How much work are you willing to put into it? Do you have the resources to support you to get there? So these are some of the things that I think about because now my goal now is a business, not a hobby. And then from there, like I would go into, okay, then what do I need? Like, okay, if these are my goals, then how do I get there? And then I think about, okay, so I have all these things I could do, like farmers market is a one stream of income that I would make where I could move my products. Wholesaling is another. And then other things like CSA or retail restaurants or other things like that. So I would take all these things into considerations and then I would plan my approach. And then go into networkings like this, where I would meet wholesales like Food Hub or other individuals who are in the other categories that I'm looking for, and then connect with them and move my products that way. And yeah, so that's what I've been doing. Just kind of that's kind of how we grow because you're not a hobby, you're a business, and you got to think about it like a business because every transaction that you move your product through is a business transaction. And then in every connections and networking event, it's a business networking event now. So it really changed the way I look at how I connect with my buyers.
And I pretty much agree with Ying on that. You can't have too many producers for a product in reality. Food insecurities are a big enough issue across the country. So really, it's just a matter of connecting with other farmers to see what you need to have done and where you can have outputs for your products. But there's not really such thing as too many producers.
Both. Just give it a little bit moment if anyone has any questions regarding some of these questions that we have here for the panelists. And another transparency. This is one light to this topic. I feel like there's definitely a lot of ways to approach a relationship within like this realm, but this is definitely one of the ways that has happened. But just for transparency. Oh, oh, sorry. Could you repeat?
Could you talk just a little bit more in detail about the Wisconsin Food Hub Cooperative and what you guys do and who you guys distribute to directly as well?
Yeah, so the Wisconsin Food Hub Cooperative was formed, I think, 12 or 13 years ago, and was farmer owned, farmer operated, and the farmers union plays a big role in it, I believe. So basically what we do is we aggregate through different growers. Ying is obviously one of our small growers, but we have a bunch of larger growers that sell wholesale, and we're able to distribute to different school districts. We're able to distribute to, I believe, Cisco and Roundy's. We have orders that go into them as well. I'm not 100% positive of all of the little details with the WFHC side because I deal more with the smaller growers. But as an overall, we connect with a lot of different school districts and, like I was saying, some of the other smaller businesses in the areas. And we're just kind of an aggregator. We have the Super Transport Cooperative, which is an extension of the Wisconsin Food Hub, that we have different locations throughout the state of Wisconsin that are sub-hubs, and they're part of our main group of farmers that we work with, and they help us so that way we can save some costs going across the state of Wisconsin. We're able to, for example, Tracy Vins is in the room. She's one of our sub-hub locations out at Olden's Organics, So if there's areas out in the Fond du Lac area that might need deliveries or we might need to pick up from farmers, we set up certain days of the week that we would go to her place and she can help get that product in at her location and save us that extra crazy mile or a couple miles out of the way. It gives us a way of kind of organizing in the state how we go about distribution and being able to pick things up in a smart manner so that way we can save money. And we have designated routes on designated days to help get that product to those locations at the most convenient cost it can be to those people buying it. So
Can you sell into the Wisconsin Food Hub Cooperative as an out-of-state producer? I'm an Illinois farmer and just curious if there's any restrictions there of being out of state.
I believe we can. We just have to determine if it's on one of our routes and work that out with you. But if you want to give the mic to Tracy Vins, she's part of the Wisconsin Food Hub as well, and she can answer a few more of your questions.
To answer your question, yes, you certainly can sell into the Wisconsin Food Hub. You would need to talk to the people there as to if what you have currently is something that they have a buyer for. And just to piggyback on to what Kendra said about how the Food Hub was created, there were dozen of us farms that were all selling to the same end customers, be it Roundy's, be it Cisco, and instead of all of us delivering to the same location, we came together to aggregate our product to one location so that one truck could go to that facility. And then we as the farmers could focus on farming, and we hired staff to be able to focus on the transport and the facilitation of the orders and everything.
Thank you, Tracy.
So I have a question. I am wondering, so how does Wisconsin Food Hub Co-op create a new delivery route, let's say in an area that you might not be associated with a certain farm or any of the orgs that you guys are partner up with? How would you guys go with that process to create that new potential line to aggregate from producers?
Well, currently we have, I want to say 70 of our counties, or it's pretty close to 70 of the 72 counties that we go through. So it would be pretty rare for us not to be able to cover you at one of our locations. But that's part of why we have the sub-hubs where we have them. And currently we're actually, I wish I had a map that I could show you guys kind of like where it is. I was going to wear my t-shirt today to show everybody, but Wisconsin Food Hub is located in Waupaca, Wisconsin, so we're centrally located. Cover Milwaukee and Madison area. We've got Tracy Vins who covers out towards the Fond du Lac area. We have Seasonal Harvest that covers north of her. And then we actually have our own Bayfield run that we're doing as the Wisconsin Food Hub. So we cut up, and we're actually looking at having Ying be one of our sub-hubs as well in the Wausau area. So she would be able to help with that area of location. And then we have Sean out at Chippewa Valley who covers the Driftless region. And we also kind of work with Fifth Season and Iowa Food Hub down in that southern region. So we've covered a lot of the state with our sub-hubs already. So it's really just a matter of we need the information of where you're located to determine what days we can do pickups and all of those kind of things.
Thank you, Kendra, for that. Is there any other questions? No.
So I'm very new to the whole food hub thing, so sorry if this is a very basic question, but could you just talk a little bit more about how the relationship works between the farmers and the food hub in terms of ordering, like who initiates the order? Is there a contract, or is it more like week to week or month to month based on orders that are coming into the co-op?
We generally get you set up, like I was kind of stating before, you have to have food safety, and then depending on if you're an organic grower, you need your organic certification. And then we have a producer letter of guarantee that we have you sign. And then we'll also have you sign a marketing agreement with us if you're gonna be a grower that works with us. And then also, like Tracy and I had mentioned, we want you to we want to be sure that what you're offering for a product is also going to facilitate and make sense. Like if you're not going to have a pallet worth of product, is it going to make sense? Are you already on a route with us? We kind of like determine all of that based on that initial setup and email. But I can connect with you if that's something you're interested in. I can get you information on how to become a producer, one of our producers, and at least test it out. See, like you can send an email and we can get the basics that we need from you, like what your product is, what you're planning on growing, where you're located, and then get back to you depending on what, if your product is something that maybe comes in early in the season or later in the season than some of our other growers. We don't tend to like to have like 100 growers that are all growing garlic because that's going to be really hard to sell. So we generally want like about 4 products that you are really good at producing and that you think you can sell, and then we'll go from there in conversations, and then also get you set up with, if there's going to be a school that's potentially interested, every week you would project to us and we put it in a giant newsletter so that way the schools have access to that to decide and determine if they want to order from you. So that's kind of like the chain of how it goes. We have to get you set up with us in our system first. And then once we know that we can get product from you, we project it out to the buyers and then they have a chance to buy your product. So we're kind of like that middleman as far as getting your information out, and then we arrange the transport that works along with everything else. Does that answer your questions?
Yes, thank you. And quick follow-up question. So for setting pricing, is that done by the farmers or do you all do any like markup, or how does that work?
We do have a sheet that we go off of that, again, I deal a lot more with the local food purchasing partnership. So I don't have all of that exact information, but I know that we have a way of getting that to you and we can email that to you so that way you have a basis. Because there is like a standard number that's kind of like out there for a lot of products, and that's generally what we go based on. And I think Ying might be able to elaborate a little bit more on it.
Yeah, so I'll share my experience of how I connected with Food Hub and how we got into there to become a member. So when I met Tara like a few years ago, we were rather small. At the time, I think I was just farming like maybe an acre and a half of vegetables. And Food Hub has another program for small growers, the 365 program. So that got me into it to learn how to wholesale and not only that, learning how to package and do the pricing so that I could meet their pricing point. And that was really helpful because that taught me how to do wholesaling and to learn if I like wholesaling or not, and before I become a member. So that was really helpful. Like for small growers, like that could be something that you could get yourself into to learn to see if you really like it before you commit even more. So.
So I guess my follow-up question, based on your question and the answers that you just provided, so the school district is not buying garlic from the Wisconsin Food Hub Cooperative. They're buying Ying Lo's garlic, and then the Food Hub is facilitating the pickup and distribution of Ying Lo's garlic. Like you're not purchasing garlic as much garlic as you need to fulfill the orders that are coming in, putting it all together, co-packing it, and sending it to where it needs to go. Are both things happening?
Well, I specifically work with Ying, who is one of our smaller growers, and her products don't always go necessarily to the school district unless the school district, I think she has to fall under certain guidelines in order to meet that. But I do know from the Wisconsin Food Hub aspect of everything, they get orders every week from different school districts, for example, and we have a projection of all of our growers that we can reach out then at that point and be like, okay, we need this amount of this. We need, like, we have lamers as one of the things that we get to the school districts. So we reach out every week we get an order from different schools. We'll reach out, facilitate, get those orders into the hub, and then we have routes that go to your school district each week. Does that make sense? And does that answer your question at all?
I think so. Yeah, thanks.
I think a follow-up question that I have, I'm doing follow-up questions too, is around the pricing. I know that Kendra, you mentioned that you have like a kind of like a set base price to kind of follow. As growers come in as to become like new producers, do they have the ability to negotiate some of those pricings?
I'm not exactly positive on that. That's, again, I mean, I try to negotiate pricing when I'm doing the part that I'm doing with my small growers. On their end, I think it's pretty standard rates. Every once in a while, there's always a little flexibility. I mean, obviously, depending on what's going on in the country at that time kind of affects a lot of things. When I've worked with some meat producers, that tends to kind of fluctuate a lot. A lot of time vegetable prices are pretty accurate for the month. So depending on if you're a meat producer, that's going to obviously change almost weekly, along with how butcher shops are and all of that kind of stuff. But overall, I think the prices of vegetables are pretty standard. So, I mean, overall, all of our growers are pretty much set at that set rate for products.
I can just add to that, depending upon which customers at the food hub that your product is looking to go to would depend upon pricing. Some customers have contract pricing, some it's on a week-to-week basis. You're projecting out every week what your availability is. And then if you do get, if there is an order that somebody wants your product potentially, you have the right to refuse it, refuse the order if the price isn't what you're willing to pay. And just one other question to add on to what you had asked before. With becoming a member of the Food Hub, it's a $1,100 membership fee, a one-time fee that gives you membership into the cooperative as well as voting rights.
Right here first, then.
I'm curious about certifications and if organic and gaps and all of those things plays a big role in who or like what's being sold and what the prices are, if people are paying more for those kind of certifications, basically, or if they're accepted easier with gaps.
I know for us, because we're organic, so my price is a little bit higher than a traditional produce, simply because we're organic, we're certified. Right now, I would say we're not GAP certified yet, but we have a facility that's going to be certified eventually here. So we're prepared for that. And Food Hub, it's okay with us that we have a facility prepared for it. So, and again, I'm not sure that the GAP certification of it had anything to do with our pricing. I mean, I think that's required by all wholesaler anyways, with my connection with wholesalers. But the organic certification, that does mark my price up a little bit more than the other ones, so.
Yeah, with all of our organic growers, when you have that organic certification, it does grant you that extra where you can bump your price up a little bit. But obviously, if you're conventional and you're trying to sell your garlic at the price that Ying is selling hers at, it's not reasonable. So you have to take into consideration the market that your product's going into. And obviously, if you are growing organic and you're investing all those extra things, you want to get organic certified. So that way you're not having to take a hit on your product or take less on your product. You want it to be the quality that you're growing. You want to have those extra things in place.
Hi, Kendra. This is a question specifically for you. So I did hear you talking about, key for relationship, which amazing. That is exactly what we have to do in order to build relationship. You talked about trustworthiness, respect, timely communication, and breaking language barriers. But one of the things that I noticed with the LFPA program, which I was a liaison for 2 years, that which was great because it helped farmers that were not, didn't know exactly how to work high scale, like how you say, Mayor? Wholesale. Thank you. And but then in the third year, we all know what happened to LFPA, and from there, all the communication line somehow was dropped, and that affected a lot of farmers that were told that there were money still, from the previous year, and they were going to be utilized to continue in the program. Many of these farmers grew as they were told without, actually, they were not told that the program was canceled, and some of them were told that to continue growing. So many of them were kind of desperately looking for markets after we didn't have the market. So, and I'm not saying this as a matter of criticizing. I'm saying this because many of these farmers lost trust, and now we are hopefully a grant coming up where I believe Wisconsin Food Hub will be actually working to. And how do we, or how do you build that trust back? Because some of these farmers that I have talked to do not want to continue working in that way. So it's like I say, how do we do this in a better way to move forward?
I think this spring, when everything kind of shifted with the federal funding, I think it hurt a lot of our growers, not just the Spanish speaking. I know personally the Hmong community was really hurt as well as just all of our farmers. And I've heard a lot from the LFPA side of things throughout the year with this. And all we can try to do is work better and work with more translators to be able to get that system going. We did hire on people this year that were to be translators and help communicate that. But I do feel like there was some communication gaps amongst all of that, and all we can do is work better to get the communication out and rebuild any of that trust that may have gotten broken during that time period. I think all of us were kind of like tossed up in the air this spring when everything changed. I know me coming on in January, it was not expected that this wasn't going to be a program. And so when we launched the tendon table, I know I've sent many emails, but again, like Ying says, they get buried so easily in your inbox. But working with the tendon table program is a way that we can self-sustain, because our customer basis then at that point is literally everyone in the state of Wisconsin can now purchase a box that has your product in it. So as we grow that, I want to keep continuing to reach out to those growers and make sure that there isn't that barrier that we have there. And hopefully we can get a couple more people on that are able to work better with those growers, and just try to rebuild that relationship that unfortunately kind of got all jammed up this spring with the way that things happened. And then not only that, but we also don't necessarily know until you guys know. It's not like we have hidden agendas or we have like all this paperwork coming in. We found out at the same time as everyone else. So we're sitting here going, okay, what do we do to make this work? And I hope that all of the farmers can see the efforts that the Wisconsin Food Hub and even our growers that are close by have helped to try to get this up and rolling. So that way we have a self-sustaining project that we can use our 108 small growers on that unfortunately like they may not have or they have limited markets elsewhere. So I'm hoping that those growers can be patient with us and work with us and understand that we're really trying to get their products out.
Yeah, thanks. And just to follow up, I do understand completely how things work and that sometimes we, like you said, get tossed in the air. But I also know that you're not having any interpreter right now working with Wisconsin Food Hub. And I was thinking, especially because this grant is coming out with just purchasing food, not just procurement. Again, like before, not technical assistance. Have you thought about connecting with organizations that will serve as that, or connect that gap or close that gap, so you don't have to probably hire a lot of people, but you can somehow work with those organizations to make sure that the farmers are understanding and everybody's in the same place.
Yes, and that's what we did this last year. We did have two translators, one for the Spanish community and one for the Hmong community, as well as like Ying would also help out at times with her growers. But Ann Vang was in charge of the Hmong community and their farming. And then we had Katia Jimenez, who is in charge of all of our Spanish growers. So I do know that we did have a translator this year for our growers, but I'm not sure if the communication was established well enough for that. So we're working on making sure that that's very clear and that we can pass that information along to them.
Is it okay if I share a little bit about that? So something that I've done in my community when all of that came about was I just gather all of the farmers who are in the LFPA program or want to be in there. And we all came together and figured things out together separately because we got to move our products. And and then we just decided that that at that point that I'm going to be aggregating for them and to help them move their products because we already purchased our seeds and some of them already put their seeds in the ground and planted it. And we built our relationships that way. And then all of a sudden, I reaching out to Food Hub, sharing with them that, okay, I'm putting together this group because we got to move our products, and they really supported us. And not only that, because I have decided, okay, I'm going to aggregate for all of you, and so we can get our products moved, that you all can bring your products here and they can pick up at one location or something, just to make it easier for everyone. And that really helped my farmer, at least in my local community, to move their products. So that was really helpful. So share that.
Thank you, everyone.
This might be kind of a petty question for an initiating and building relationships session, but I guess I'm not hearing the word contracts or like agreements all that much. And for me, I mean, no offense, everybody, but like to establish trust, I kind of want like a very clear agreement with expectations, a contingency plan for when shit hits the fan, and just like some sort of commitment long term. And I don't know if this is how the Wisconsin Food Hub Co-op works in all situations, but so far I've just heard like that farmers send you their projections, and then there's kind of like week-to-week orders throughout the season. But like, personally, I want so bad to get into wholesaling. I'm a CSA farmer right now. But CSA affords me that commitment at the beginning of the season where I'm not sitting with perishable goods hoping somebody's going to follow through on that projection. So I just wonder where like that, like those agreements come into place, and what kind of contingency plans exist for when maybe a crop doesn't come through, just as far as trust building.
I can answer that if that's okay. Just being from the producer side of it, yes, there is contracts and there's agreement, and basically my projection is to tell Food Hub what I have available that week that they can purchase. And if again, back to the pricing of what Kendra was talking about. Pricing's good and what they can sell that week, then they would purchase from me. And that's the commitment. And the contracts is that agreement that, yes, they're going to be buying my product. But also being on the producer side of it, I can't say to myself that, okay, everything I grow, they're going to be buying it this week. That will not happen. I can tell you that from producer side, because they will buy it, but they have to have a buyer to buy my products. And when they have a buyer that buys my product, of course they're going to be purchasing it from me. And so it works both ways. So it's not like I think at least from what I heard from at least the farmer in my group is that they're expecting that once they sign up to be part of the Food Hub members, then Food Hub is going to buy everything and that they're going to just grow and growing, and produce. But that doesn't happen because they have to be able to sell. So that's why as we have to change the way that we think about our farm to a business, that it is our business, that yes, we can't just rely on one wholesaling company to be buying all of our stuff. Maybe you could be very lucky to have someone like that, but I haven't been that lucky. Like I need multiple buyers that, okay, maybe this week they're not buying potatoes from me, but someone else is buying potatoes and someone is buying tomatoes and someone's buying kale and move my stuff like that. And then by the end of the week, I'm able to sell everything because a restaurant's buying my lettuce and then they're buying my potatoes and then someone else is buying my kale and then I don't really have anything wasted. So.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, one more question. Okay, we'll hold for one more question and we'll.
I have a follow-up to what Sam asked. So outside LFPA, there is contract. Why there wasn't any LFPA contract this first one when I'm kind of confused with that.
So the Wisconsin Food Hub has a marketing agreement through the Wisconsin Food Hub, and that's different than the LFPA contract. That's a government contract for you guys to grow with the LFPA. I can have Ying elaborate a little bit more on it, but basically there are two different types of agreements. When you're a wholesaler, you have a wholesale marketing agreement. When it's just the LFPAers, they had a different type of contract, and that contract was not renewed this year. So that's where there was a lot of miscommunication, I believe, on that LFPA contract was not valid.
Yes, so that's exactly right. What Kendra is saying there is, so my membership with the Food Hub, that's a completely different from the LFPA. That's something else. That's another stream of income that we're selling through Food Hub as wholesalers, and we have to pay for it, the $1,100 that Tracy mentioned earlier. And then again, when I first started, I didn't have to pay that. I started as this really small grower at the 365 program to learn how to do it properly. And then I moved up to the $1,100 and then became a member. But all of that needs a separate contract, even though when I was a free member, I think that's a 365 member when I started. I'm not sure about now, but when I started, it was free. But even that, I still need to sign a contract, the marketing agreement, and agreeing to packaging it properly. I think that, I remember that's what it says on there. And so to follow wholesale standards for that. And then when I move up, then I pay the fees and, go from there. But they're two completely different programs.
Thank you, everyone. It has been a lot of great questions and discussion. I feel like this is what relationship building is all about. This conflicts, understanding, transparency, all of that is all included in relationship building. And we all know relationships are hard, whether it's personal, work, and whatnot. No, relationships are hard. And understanding some of these processes can make things easier, smooth sailing. And so we hope that goes for all relationships, but we all know that's realistically not true. But we have a little small time yet before lunch, but so I do want to get through this last question. I feel like there was a lot of discussion that covered a lot of the questions on here already. But yeah, so this is from a point of view of like a grower or someone that has language barriers. How would they kind of approach a producer or buyer in like a networking space, or like how do they go about that with language barriers involved if there's no like interpreters or translators readily available?
Well, for us, I would say maybe during the LFA program, I sort of just got connected to a lot of Hmong growers. I don't know by accident or whatnot, but because there's the language barrier was there, part of that. And how I did it was I just had people calling me, and I just started translating. And then not only that, I gather groups and have meetings with them. Like I have people come to my house to fill applications to support them, even in questions like if they're having a challenge or not knowing how to package something. Like for example, we have about 15 growers in my local community that I support that they probably understand about maybe a 30 or 40 percent of English. And a lot of times they call me simply because they know that I could speak the language, and they call me and ask me, or they would have their sons and daughter call, but then they couldn't get through or something, and then they would call me. But then anyhow, with all of that, I think it really matters about, gathering the groups together, talking with them and share with them, okay, it's perfectly okay. You can call me and making the time, and gathering them in groups. Like I'll give an example of like, I would have growers where they don't know how to package something, or they thought they knew, but then it was too big and doesn't fit in a box. I have them come over to my farm. I'll show them what to do and how to put it in the box and be like, okay, this is how you do it. And it will fit in there if you do it this way. Or maybe if they can't sell, like what we were saying earlier, okay, we got to change the way you approach your business here. And so what I do is it sort of like goes into business coaching to everything farming, but it's been a really good experience for us. So
Thank you, Ying. And then this is a follow-up question for you again, or Kendra. So what are some considerations that you, as a producer or distributor / buyer, may have to ensure that the outcome of the connection that's being made already is financially stable? And you can consider things like distance, capacity, volume. So yeah, what are some of those thought process for you as a producer or buyer to consider?
okay, I could answer it from a producer standpoint. It really goes back to what I shared earlier about knowing your goals and changing your mindset from hobby to a business. Because when you change that into a hobby to a business, that your pricing changed dramatically. You can't be charging retail price when you're selling wholesaling. Your price needs to be less because every transaction now becomes a business transaction. And you also have to think that from you're the producer and then someone else gets the product and needs to get to the destination, and then a customer purchases and consumes, then everybody who does that needs to make a profit. So your price cannot be at retail price and expect that they're going to be also making a profit. So it changes my pricing quite a bit. And I have to be okay with that from, the producer side of that, yeah, it's okay, because I don't want to go to the farmer's market and sit there for a whole day. And or maybe you don't want to do anything else, but you want to do just wholesaling, so you really have to think about your business tactic there. And then also taking into consideration, maybe some wholesaler might pick up at your location, but your quantity is too small, so you're going to have to deliver it to them. how far is it? If in the pricing is that, are you still going to be able to still make any profit in the ways that, your time, your commitment, your gas and everything, and maybe the volume even, like how much are they buying? Are you going to be, if they're only buying 2 boxes, is it going to worth you driving 4 hours to drop it off? So these are some of the things you need to consider when you, and it really impacts your final, dollars too. So you got to think about these things.
Thank you, Ying.
One other thing for our aspect is that we need the grower to really be sure that they can commit to what they're deciding to grow. When we ask for projections, we would rather you under project than over project, because if Ying, for example, gives us a projection she can do 4 pallets worth of garlic, and we get an order for Cisco for that 4 pallets, and then she calls me up the night before and says, sorry, we can only do 2. Now we have to short the vendor. That makes the producer, like, it hurts the producer ultimately, because Roundy stops ordering that order because they're not following through. So it's like chain of events to everything too. If we get you connected with that big grower and you're making those projections and those commitments, it's again back to that trust that when you tell us you're going to have 4 pallets, we can trust that you're going to have that 4 pallets, because otherwise we're going to go with a different grower that potentially can always make that commitment.
Both so much.